Hello, teachers. I cannot believe it. We are already in week 6 of the classroom management by design for primary teachers. I just cannot get over how fast these weeks are flying by. Hopefully you feel the same way. Hopefully you are getting at least one takeaway from each one of these segments that we are doing. If you don't know me, I am Lauren Zabigan. I am the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox. I've been in education for well over 20 years. And this week, we are going to talk about understanding how a teacher's tone plays a huge role in the communication component to classroom management. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. Effective communication, it involves not only what we say, but how we say it. And this is so often overlooked in many classrooms. A teacher's tone can significantly influence the classroom atmosphere, student engagement, and just the overall learning experience happening in the classroom. Something so small as your tone of voice. So we want to just have a conversation about this. We will dive into some techniques to bring a mindfulness to you for clear and positive communication. We're going to share the importance of your actual tone of voice and, give you strategies for practicing and being mindful of your tone. And then just the nuances of active listening and practical activities, which will hopefully enhance your communication skills when you are in the classroom. These strategies are geared towards helping primary teachers to just achieve a higher level of classroom management success. And as I said, this is something that we don't really think about too much and we don't really practice too much, but we probably should. Okay, so let's get started. Some techniques for clear and positive communication. First, let's discuss the power of tone in communication. The tone of your voice, it conveys emotions. It conveys your attitudes. And often more powerfully than the words themselves is how you're expressing those words. A supportive and positive tone can foster that safe and encouraging learning environment. And I'm not saying be coddling, I'm saying be positive. So there's a difference. While a harsh or a dismissive tone, you can imagine it's going to create that anxiety and it's going to create resistance among your students in your classroom. So here are some just strategies to help you master the tone of your communication. And again, we're just talking about this because this is one of those things that is so critical but not really talked about. So first and foremost, let's talk about warmth and engagement. Use a warm and encouraging tone to make your students feel valued and supportive. It's motherly, nurturing. Think of it that way. So here's an example. You might say something along the lines of, I believe in your ability to solve this word problem. Let's walk through it together. You're promoting that positivity and you're giving the student that belief in himself or herself. Okay? Second area is to be calm and steady. You want to maintain a calm and steady tone, especially in the most stressful situations. This is to ensure that you are maintaining your composure and you're maintaining your control. You're not letting the situation get the best of you no matter what it is, and that's not always easy. An example here might be saying something like, I see that we're having some difficulty understanding this math concept. 2-digit subtraction. Let's take a step back and try this again, working from what we know. And then we'll build from there. A third type of tone would be assertive but kind. This is one of my favorites. You can be assertive when necessary, but ensure that your tone remains kind and respectful. This was my go-to tone a lot of times in my classroom when I was trying to correct behavior. You might say something along the lines like, I need everyone to pay attention now so we can move forward with our lesson. You're going to have their attention like that, working on that tone. Did you hear my inflections? Another type of tone is just expressing enthusiasm, right? Show enthusiasm in your tone to engage and motivate your students. You would be amazed at the energy that they can pick up off of you. So what would this look like in the classroom? You might say something like, I am so excited about the book we're going to be starting today. It is one of my favorites and has been since my childhood. It is going to be so much fun to read this with you, and I hope you find it interesting and love it as much as I do. They're going to feed into your emotion there. So now that we have the different types of tones kind of verified, let's talk about techniques for clear communication, because clear communication, is essential for setting those expectations and providing instructions that students can easily understand. So here again, we're going to give you some techniques. Remember, we're trying to do this like a step-by-step process for you just to help you enhance your clarity. So the first step in this process for clarity is consistency in your language. This should be building-wise, but definitely in your classroom. Use consistent terminology for your routines and your procedures to minimize confusion for your students. For example, always use the term silent reading time if that's what you're trying to get them to do, rather than switching between something such as this is our quiet reading period or stop, drop, and read time. You want to just keep the verbiage consistent. You can call it whatever you want, but be consistent with it. Number 2, layering instructions. This is a big one. Break down complex instructions into manageable steps and then present them in a sequence so they know, first I do this, second I do this, third I do this. You might even have a visual on the board, okay? What would this sound like? First, take out your math books. Next, turn to page 45. Finally, start working independently on the problems in the first section. Take out your book, turn to the page, begin the work. Boom. Clear, consistent. The next one, number 3, are visual reinforcements, right? Support your verbal instructions with visual aids. Have it on the board. This is going to help to enhance the understanding, and when they are not listening to you, you can say, read the board, look at the board. Even in preschool, you can use pictures to help them navigate, right? Use a visual schedule on your board to outline your daily routines. Again, even in preschool, kindergarten, they can follow those pictures if they're visual. Okay, number 4 in this area is clarification checks. You want to regularly check for understanding by asking your students to repeat back to you or simply paraphrase the instructions. I know teachers know to do this, but a lot of teachers skip this step because, it's a way to save time. I'm just going to give them the directions. They're going to know what to do. All you have to do is simply ask them, can someone explain in their own words what we're going to do next? Take a response. Okay, so let's move into just positive communication strategies. Positive communication, it helps to build that supportive classroom environment, right? Your students are going to feel safe. Your students are going to feel motivated. And then what we're going to do right now is we're going to give you strategies, again, to just help you to enhance the communication and the language you use in your classroom. This is, if you're new, hopefully this is helpful. If you are a veteran teacher, hopefully this is just a reminder on how to boost your communication skills. So for this, you want to have an empathetic response, right? Show empathy through your tone and your choice of words, because this is going to validate your students' feelings. And this is what's going to let them know that they're not just a number in your classroom, they're actually an individual and you care about them. How do you do this? What does this sound like? You might say something like, I understand you're frustrated with this assignment. Let's see how we can break this down and tackle it together. So simple. Start with problems 1 through 5 and then check in with me. Boom, go with that. Okay, next, celebrate those small wins, right? If you use a celebratory tone to acknowledge and reinforce those small achievements, oh my goodness, your students are going to think they are the bomb.com, okay? Fantastic. You did such a great job finishing that problem. I am so impressed. That's simple. That's simple. Okay, next, another area you might want to consider is inclusive language. You use inclusive language to be respectful and ensure that all students, again, are having that feeling of being valued in your room and being respected. So what does this sound like in a classroom? Instead of saying things like you guys, which I know so many teachers do, I myself am guilty of that, use phrases like everyone or class or room 2, right? But yeah, be inclusive. Next up is one of my favorite, nonverbal communication. So you want to align your nonverbal cues with your verbal messages to reinforce that positivity or whatever message you're trying to get across from them, right? If you're trying to be stern, you might stand there and do something like this and just wait. But if we're doing positivity, smile, maintain open posture, and use gestures that show attentiveness, right? You are being inclusive and they know that you are very happy and you're celebrating with them. So the other part of communication besides tone and the words we use, it's the listening, right? We're going to talk about the subtleties of active listening that, again, you may be aware of, but this is great to review. Because active listening, it goes beyond hearing words, and it involves understanding messages and emotions, okay? So right now, we're going to give you some techniques to, again, hopefully help boost your active listening skills in your classroom. First example would be mirroring emotions. Mirror the students' emotions and language to show that understanding and empathy component. So let's say, for example, if a student says, I'm really upset about this grade. I studied and I am just so upset. They're really frustrated. You might respond with, I can see you're upset. Let's talk about what happened and see if we can boost this grade somehow. And you're going to do it age appropriately. 2nd or 3rd grade, you can very easily have that conversation. Next up, you want to summarize periodically. So just periodically summarize what the student has said to you, because this is confirming that you are understanding and you're showing you're listening. You're being attentive to the conversation. A great phrase to use here is, so what you're saying is that you're finding this part of the project challenging because of whatever. Again, preschool, this is a great way to help them start expressing their feelings. What I'm hearing you say is that. The next one is encouraging elaborations, right? Prompt your students to elaborate on their thoughts and feelings. Get them to give you more than 1 or 2 words. How do you do this? Write this down if you've never really had to do this before or you've never thought about doing this before. But try asking this question. Can you tell me more about why you felt that way? Can you tell me more about why this is frustrating you? So those are just examples of questions you could use, but let's give you some techniques for active listening, right? You want to first and foremost avoid premature judging. Listen without forming judgments or solutions until the student has completely finished speaking, and this can be really hard to do for teachers, especially if you come from a big family and you're always talking over people. You want to be the active listener. Let them finish what they're saying. Let the student fully express themselves before you give any advice or feedback, as hard as it may be, and you might want to practice this with a colleague, okay? Next up, you want to validate feelings. And you hear this word a lot, and this is big for students because this doesn't always happen at home, but just acknowledge the student's feelings as valid, even if you do not agree with their perspective. It's their feelings. They're allowed to have them. You don't have to agree. You might say something like, I understand that you're upset about the homework, but you know what? We can find a way to make this more manageable, and you're going to get this task done. Boom. That's simple. Again, age appropriate, 2nd, 3rd, 1st grade, you could use these words. Okay, nonverbal feedback. Again, one of my favorite techniques to teach teachers. Use nods, use smiling, use appropriate facial expressions to show that you're engaged, even if you're confused, even if you're like, what? They're going to love it. They're going to be like, oh, ha, 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 no, this is what I mean. And you're going to have just that off the script conversation, right? Nodding while maintaining eye contact shows that you're following along and your students know that you are being an active, engaged participant in the conversation. It's not just fluff, right? So here is an activity to help you practice communication. We're just going to give you some communication skills to kind of practice through different scenarios, right? So practicing communication scenarios is often overlooked amongst staff. You can do this on your own, find a teacher friend, and just have fun with it, because this can make you refine your teaching skills and help prepare you for real life classroom interactions. So if you are a new teacher especially, and you have another new teacher best friend, take this segment that we're giving you and practice this with somebody to just build your confidence in communicating with another colleague. And believe it or not, it's going to help you to communicate with your admin and parents too. So here are some advanced role-playing scenarios. You can role-play these or just simply talk about them with a colleague. But engage in role-playing scenarios that cover a range of communication challenges. One example might be if you role-play a situation where a student is absolutely upset, frustrated due to a conflict they had with a friend, and practice mediating the conversation effectively and teaching them those resolution skills, teaching them conflict resolution. Okay, so you would practice that with, again, a teacher friend. If you have 2 new teachers, do it together. It's always more fun to do this together. Next, you practice peer feedback sessions, right? Conduct feedback sessions where you and a colleague, you and a teacher bestie, observe each other's interactions and provide constructive feedback. So this might be happening in school. Rather than having your mentor come in, have a teacher friend come in, sit for 10 minutes and just say, let me know how you felt in my classroom. What did you notice I could do better? Be open to the feedback. After observing a lesson, discuss specific instances of communication and how they could be improved. And again, just be open to receiving the feedback. It's not criticism, it's to help you get better, right? And then when your admin comes in and they observe you, you're used to receiving the feedback. It's normal. Next up is reflective listening exercises. So this is where you practice reflective listening, where you paraphrase and repeat back what the student has said. So you might say something like, it sounds like you're saying that you feel overwhelmed with the amount of homework we're giving out this year. Does that sound about right? and then let the student communicate to you and build the conversation from there. Number 4 is communication journals. This is a good one that often gets overlooked. Journal. I have a freebie. If you want it, message me, I'll send it to you. But you want to maintain a journal where you document challenging communication experiences, right? And then reflect on what you learned and what could have gone better in your eyes, in your perspective. Remember, every person in the scenario is going to bring a different perspective. Your perspective is only one. So after you have a challenging interaction with the student or with the parent, write about what went well and then write about what could be improved on. It does not have to be a sentence by sentence, blow by blow of the whole scenario. Give a summary, what went well, what could be improved on. Boom, done. Okay. Scenario-based workshops are another great tool if you can participate in one. These are workshops that use real-life scenarios to practice effective communication strategies. If you're inside the Mastering Lesson Plan Toolbox, Mastering Classroom Management membership, you receive automatically when you join the year set of student behavior scenario of the day cards, and it's for this reason. Because it's going to help you handling disruptive behaviors through positive communication techniques. It's going to help you to have those conversations with your students so they know your expectations and you know, and you're teaching them how to meet those expectations, okay? So I'm going to now give you a couple of example communication scenarios that you can, again, use with a colleague, use with a teacher bestie, practice whenever you feel you need it. The first one's going to be addressing anxiety. So you have a student who expresses anxiety about an upcoming test. Let's assume second grade. Practice how to address their concerns using empathy and still being constructive because they still have to take the test. What I might say to the student would be, I understand that tests can be stressful. You hear my tone. But let's talk about how you can prepare and what strategies that we already know to help make us feel more confident when we take these tests. You know this material, and I know you can do this. We don't have to get this worked up. Have the conversation. Okay, so next up, this scenario 2 is going to be talking about encouraging diverse opinions. So a student feels their opinion isn't being valued, isn't being respected during group discussions. What do? You are going to practice how to encourage being inclusive and how to validate other people's perspective and contributions to the conversation. Again, the student behavior scenario of the day cards are a great way to use this every single day. You as the teacher, you might say something along the lines of, your perspective is very important to our conversation. Can you share more about your idea? I think it would add a lot to our class discussion and your classmates would learn so much from you. Validated, encouraged, and hopefully you get the student to share more. Okay, scenario number 3 is navigating conflicts. So you have 2 students who have a disagreement. This is your scenario. You have 2 students who have a disagreement during a group activity. Happens all the time. You're going to practice with them mediating through the conflict using active listening and positive communication, right? A little bit conflict resolution here. Okay, Lauren, what in the world does this look like? If I were to practice this, and what do I practice? You would say something along the lines from, I want to hear from both of you about what happened. You want to hear both sides, always. Once you hear from both sides, then you're going to say, okay, how can we work together to resolve this, to make this so everyone feels heard and everyone feels like they're being supportive? And this is where you might have to come up with conflict resolution and come up with, I can't think of the word that I want. Both people have to agree. They both might have to give a little and they both might have to agree. Okay? They're going to love that you took the time to walk them through this, and it's going to make them better citizens in your classroom. So as we wind down here, just know that your tone says a lot more about what you're communicating than your words. When you use these techniques for focusing on clear and positive communication, for focusing on active listening, and encouraging and practicing these communication scenarios, you are going to create that supportive and engaging classroom environment where your students want to come in every day because they know that you genuinely care about them. You love them. These are going to help that student to teacher relationship, and those students are going to go home and tell their parents about this, I guarantee you, and you're going to get buy-in from mom and dad, right? You're promoting that culture of respect, you're promoting that culture of understanding and collaboration in your classroom, which is what a 21st century classroom is all about. Communication, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. You're using all of those skills just by focusing on communication. So remember, it's not just about the speaking. It's not just about the words. Listening actively is just as important, and then responding thoughtfully. Creating that inclusive environment where every student feels valued. You don't just want to be fluffy with them. You don't want to be on your phone. You want to be making the eye contact, repeating what they're saying, paraphrasing what they're saying. Okay? When you do this, and you do this on a regular basis, I'm telling you, these simple techniques that we're giving you, this Lego style kit, we're up to week 6, I believe. You start doing this, laying this foundation, you are building that cohesive, dynamic classroom culture that every teacher strives to get. And hopefully you're finding it's not that hard if you start from the beginning, from day one, right? And yes, you have to keep this going all school year, but hopefully you're seeing through these segments that you can do this, okay? You can do this. Your classroom management skills are going to reach new heights, and you are going to feel empowered and confident in your classroom. You are going to become the teacher where you're like, bring on that student. I'm ready for him. Because you know you can do this. And on the days it's tough, or the weeks it's tough, or the years you feel like, oh my gosh, I was just dealt this hand. That's when you reach out to us and you tell us what's happening, and we're going to work with you to get very specific on meeting your needs and meeting the students' needs in your classroom. That's why my belief in the membership of the Lesson Plan Toolbox Mastering Classroom Management membership is just through the roof, because every year you're going to get new students in your classroom, and every year their needs are going to change. And every year you put in so much time and so much energy learning new skills, looking up, what do I do? How do I handle this? What do I say? We do all of that for you. You tell us what the situation is. We take that burden off of you, take that stress load off of you, give you that plan to put in place, and then you get to tackle it. And the way we have it set up, it's a daily, weekly, monthly process. Every month you fill out a Google form, give us your highlights, what's happening in your classroom. Every week we give weekly classroom management videos. Sometimes there are even 2 a week, depending on the needs of teachers. And then every day you have those student behavior scenario of the day cards to help you foster the conversation about behavior in your classroom in 5 minutes a day. And just having that conversation is going to set you apart from so many of your colleagues. On top of that, your students and your families are going to love you because they feel validated and they feel that they are truly a member of a community. So, thank you for being here. I hope you can feel my passion with all of this. You have one of the toughest jobs. You have probably the toughest job in the United States of America in this day and age. My hat is off to you. I can only say so much, and I promise you I will support you as best I can. I've been in your shoes over 20 years. Bulk of it was as a classroom teacher. And I worked to learn and how to navigate situations intuitively. And that's what I'm trying to share with you. I was granted master teacher status through the state of Ohio, which is still crazy to say. And I then moved on beyond the classroom to help other teachers in my building. And now I want to help other teachers across the globe, hopefully. So that's what we're all about. Thank you for being here. Come back next week for week 7 of Classroom Management by Design. We are just rocking and rolling here. And, oh, sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but I just also want to say we are doing a classroom management challenge where there are prizes galore. It's going to start July 22nd. Go every day that week, 5 days. There will be a challenge. Complete it. You will be entered in to win the grand prize, which is a 1-year membership for every K-3 teacher in your building for the Mastering Classroom Management for 1 year. You get a 1-year membership for every K-3 teacher in your building. We will be there supporting you with your classroom management for the whole year. So you do the challenge, we enter you, and there's going to be other prizes too, but that's like the grand prize. So, all right, thanks again for being here. I am Lauren Spiegel. I am the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox. Head to lessonplantoolbox.com, chat with us, meet up with us at Lesson Plan Toolbox on Instagram, Facebook. We are under Classroom Management for Primary Teachers. Find us. We'd love to connect with you, communicate with you, and talk all things classroom management. All right, until next week, we'll talk to you later.